Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey, everybody. This is Greg Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. It's out of control already. I'm with a really cool guy and a tremendously unique and really inventive player. We're with Ben Lacy. He first started playing guitar when he was around 7. And this is what I like about him. He had one lesson with a classical instructor, and the guy got mad when Ben told him he was out of tune. I read that. That was like, man, I really like this guy.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's great. That was the end of Ben's formal education. He's been self-taught ever since. He's played locally in his hometown of Lexington, Kentucky, with many bands ranging in styles from jazz and funk to dance to metal. Around 2000, Ben became a solo act, but he also still enjoys playing duets with Bob Bryant, who's a great bass player. They've had the honor of opening for Tower of Power twice in Kentucky, and outside of Kentucky, Ben's performed all around North America and in Europe. He's performed with musician greats such as Al DiMeola, Larry Coryell, George Duke, Joey DeFrancesco, Phil Keaggy, and with Sting's guitarist Dominic Miller in London. He also did some session work with Scotty Anderson for a 9/11 tribute, and he's played in tribute shows to Chet Atkins and Les Paul. In July 2003, he had the honor of literally handing Les Paul his Lifetime Achievement Award at Muriel Anderson's All-Star Guitar Night at the historic Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. Another particular honor has been meeting one of his guitar heroes, Steve Morse. He was named as one of the top, the top 101 forgotten greats and unsung guitar heroes by Guitar Player magazine. Why don't they just call you one of the top 101 greats? That's a weird thing if you think about it, right?
I think they were calling me an unsung hero, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. That's weird. Anyway, it's an honor. That was a good thing. Let me not make a bad out of it. And let me take an excerpt of an article from 20th Century Guitar magazine to describe Ben's playing, because it really is unique. The article said, and I thought this was spot on, about once a decade, a new guitar talent comes along that knocks this writer out. My first encounter with Ben Lacy was literally thrilling. He was incorporating multiple techniques. There were chords with bass lines. There was melody and horn lines, all done simultaneously, and above all, there was a rhythmic sense few have attained. A constant groove that propelled the music, and I was blown away when he added the drum solos on guitar strings. Ben Lacy has done what few guitarists have done in history, not just digest the styles of the past, but Ben's raised the bar a notch or two. And that's a very good description if you check Ben out. In 2011, Ben headlined alongside guitar greats Dick Dale and Jimmy Vaughan in the LA Guitar Festival. In November 2013, Ben had the pleasure to open for Blues Traveler and perform La Grange with John Popper. Those guys are great, man. And he's also recently opened for Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Victor Wooten, Tom Kiefer, Shooter Jennings, Leon Russell, and Brett Michaels. Wow, that's a pretty eclectic.
That's all over the place.
Yeah, it sure is, man. In 2015, Ben appeared at the Nashville Guitar Festival, and he also performed in the same year at the Breeders' Cup Festival in Lexington, Kentucky. That was probably pretty cool, right?
That was actually really cool. I was digging that. Yes, very much so.
That's a very Kentucky pride thing, man.
That totally is. And there was music like everywhere, constantly, like all day, all night, and I was kind of right in the middle of all of that.
That's really good, man. Congratulations.
Yeah.
In November 2016, Ben Lacy and Jay Roberts opened for Steve Vai on his Passion and Warfare 25th anniversary tour in Nashville at Marathon Music Works and in Knoxville at the Bijou Theater. He's also enjoying success with his groundbreaking instructional course from True Fire called Two-Hand Groove Guitar, and he can often be found at the summer and winter NAMM shows. He's also a regular on Facebook and on his YouTube channel, which is called Ben Lacy's Morning Living Room Sessions. I like that, man. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you having me. I'm having fun already.
Don't worry, it's going to go downhill real quick. Hey, man, how did you wind up getting selected to give Les Paul his Lifetime Achievement Award?
I think that was just a complete fluke that night. I don't know. We were all backstage, and I think I just got done performing. But yeah, everybody was like, "Well, who's going to give this to Les Paul?" And I was just kind of nervous. in general, and they all just kind of looked at me. I was like, well, okay, I'll move it. What am I going to turn that down? I couldn't turn that down, you know. So that was actually really cool. Yeah, so I think just kind of inadvertently lucked out on that, I think. But it was really cool. I mean, that was definitely an honor. That makes for a great story. You know what I mean?
Did you guys talk at all, or was it really that venue?
You know what? I can't remember exactly what it was. I just remember he was just a very facetious guy. Was just cutting jokes left and right. Les Paul was. So that's all I remember. Is he was just real lighthearted and funny and silly. You know what I mean?
That's really cool, man.
I think I was so nervous handing it to him, though. I mean, I can't remember anything he even said because it was just like surreal. You know what I mean? I just couldn't believe it.
and how about opening for Steve Vai? How'd you get tapped to do that? That was just a couple of years ago.
That is Steve Vai's longtime guitar tech, Thomas Nordegg from Austria. Mm-hmm. Super great guy. Thomas has been around. He used to tech for Frank Zappa, which I'm a huge Frank Zappa fan. You know, so. Yeah. And he's tech for the Stones, and then he started, teching for Steve Vai. And I ran into him, Thomas Nordegg, at a lot of NAMM shows, and he just kind of was digging my plan or whatever. And I think he just basically told Steve, man, you should have Ben open up for him, basically. So
that's so Steve, cool.
Ben, who the hell's Ben?
No, but I mean, that's the way the music business works. It's so like subtle, little. I've talked to so many guys that got referred by like an obscure, unexpected, maybe not obscure is a good word, but unexpected referral.
Yeah, no, I think things do tend to happen that way in the business a lot. And, when it does, you're very, very fortunate, obviously when that does happen. So it's kind of to open up for Steve Vai is pretty freaking cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it says a lot about your playing. I mean, Vai doesn't have I would not open for Steve Vai, no matter how much how much he liked, if he loved me, even. It says a lot.
I was definitely honored, but I was definitely a little bit nervous going into it because I just didn't know exactly what to expect. But I tell you what, after for one thing, after meeting Steve backstage and talking to him for a while, it definitely kind of calmed me down quite a bit. You know what I mean?
That's good.
I was hoping that his audience would kind of dig what I do because it's kind of, maybe obviously a little different than what Steve does. You know what I mean? Which I guess that's the way it should be, though, at a show. Though it's not like I want to get up there and do the same thing he's doing. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, totally, and it's all guitar heads there, man. So what you do is so guitar head oriented, mm-hmm. And I think it's like a very perfect audience for you, actually. That's which
worked out really well. They received us well, and I was playing with a buddy of mine, Jay Roberts. Yeah, so we just get up there and we're playing electric guitars, but we're on clean sound, and we're just grooving away. So we just had a really good. We're playing stuff anywhere from like Chick Corea to Michael Jackson, all over the place. But it was fun. It was fun.
That's great, man.
Yeah, it was. And they loved it. They ended up loving it, so we got lucky in that.
Hey, for each one of these artists, if you could talk about maybe how you got the gig and if there's a cool or interesting story about working with them. Al DiMeola.
God, I don't even know how that happened. He was doing a show in St. Louis, and I think it had, with the guitar, a long time, and I'm endorsing a guitar called Brian Moore and have been for quite some time. I think there was some kind of connection with that is how that actually happened. But that was, I don't even remember the year. That was in the early 2000s. It was in St. Louis at a place called the Sheldon Music Hall. And, I got to just open up for him, which was pretty mind-blowing. And it was fun, man. It was really cool. And what I didn't know is that he was sort of listening to me the whole time I was playing, like on the side of the stage, which I didn't know that. If I would have seen him, I probably would have got super nervous and got sphincteritis and clammed up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, how would you not?
And apparently he was digging it, so he invited me up at the end of his set to do a little duet with him. So we ended up playing together too, which was insane,
Wow. Did you take away anything from that? Like any?
That it was really fun for one thing. I think the one thing for me that was kind of fun is that when I was doing my set, I was playing, I'm playing solo fingerstyle guitar, but yet when I played with Al, I used a flat pick, because I know he's kind of a alternate picking freak kind of guy, it's really good. And I can do a little bit of that too. I mean, I'm not as good as him, but I could sort of hang with him a little,
Mm-hmm.
So that was just kind of I'm guessing that was a bit of a surprise to the audience after playing a fingerstyle set to switch over to a flat pick and just, do that kind of thing. I think we played Spain from Chick Corea. We ended up playing that because that's kind of a classic, and obviously didn't need any rehearsal for that. We could just do it on the fly. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think you're underselling yourself a bit. That you thought you could hang with him. With all due respect to Al, I think you got your shit together.
I had fun, and that was definitely pretty wild getting to play with him because I had a really fun set just doing my thing, and then to get to play with him was just icing on top. It was just really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
How about Phil Keaggy?
Now, Phil, I've ran into. I've done a few of Muriel Anderson's All-Star Guitar Nights. Is basically where I met him. We were both performing. We were both on the roster to perform. And those are kind of via NAMM show gigs, All-Star Guitar Nights at the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville. And so I met Phil there. And then I think it was I've done a couple of those with him, but the first one at Soundcheck, he seemed to just be kind of digging what I was playing. I think I was doing like a little Stevie Wonder medley thing or something. He was just digging it, and we ended up talking and just kind of, becoming buddies or whatever, and just hanging out, jamming, talking. And it was he is a real class act. You know what I mean? So, in
what way? Like just super professional?
Well, I mean, he obviously plays his butt off, but it just it always. I love it when the human is tantamount to the skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
always touches me in a way when they seem like a superhuman as well as a super musician.
Yeah, I do know that.
That's me. Play really well, but the human thing's a little suspect. You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's what I like about these interviews. I get to see, the people, when they're comfortable letting it out, which fortunately is more often than not. It's really nice to get to see that.
He's just a great dude, board and obviously plays really well. So,
how about your idol, man, Steve Morse?
Oh man, that is definitely one of my dudes. My first dude was sorry about the pause there, a little Diet Coke action there. Well, I grew up like a massive Van Halen fan, and that's all I listened to, for the longest time. I'm sitting there trying to emulate that on guitar, but my brother, I think Steve Morse, I discovered him through my brother had not to reveal my age, but my brother had a cassette tape. When's the last time you heard a cassette tape?
Been a minute or two.
No, I was just kind of in I don't know if I'd say just kind of a rock and roll rut, and I was looking for a guitar rut to some degree, and I was just kind of looking for some way to try to advance a little bit, and I found a Steve Morse cassette tape in my brother's room. I was like, I didn't even know who Steve Morse was. I was like, what's this dude? And it was, I believe, his second solo album, actually, and it's called The Introduction. It might be his first, but I think it's his second one. It's called The Introduction, the Steve Morse Band, and I heard that, and it just blew my mind, man, what he was doing. First and foremost was the picking. It seemed like he sort of picked every note, and that was blowing my mind. I was more of a left hand, like a legato kind of guy. I did a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs, and then when I was just hearing his pick accuracy, blew my mind. But it was his music too. His music has a lot of attitude to it, and his writing and arranging is just off the charts. So, and then from there, I went back and got all the Dixie Dregs stuff, and I was just blown out by that. So he was like the next big thing in my phase. The next big phase of my guitar playing was really getting into Steve Morse after the Van Halen thing. So he was integral to my growth, I guess, to some degree.
And what was the gig you played with him, or open for him, or?
And as a matter of fact, that was one of those. That was one of those All-Star Guitar Night things from along with the NAMM show thing.
Oh wow! It's with Muriel Anderson.
Yeah, and what I remember, yes, exactly. And what I remember, I just got done playing, and I got off stage, and I think I was the last one to perform before he was performing. I'm guessing he was like one of the headliners, if not the headliner. And I was walking up to my dressing room, up a couple of flights of stairs, and he was coming down to perform. And he was walking down the stairs with his guitar strapped on him and running scales while he was walking downstairs.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
School's never out for the pro, man.
That's right. And he's just the coolest dude and just such a great player. Probably one of the greatest living ambassadors to the guitar community that's still active and alive. And so he's
sure.
he's the dude, man. He's one of my guys.
So when he was coming down the stairs, would you like, did you say hello, or you choked up, or?
Hello, and I guess apparently he'd been watching me because he said something like "nice job" or something. I was just like, oh my god, you know what I
mean? Yeah. That's a nice moment, man.
That has inspired you to elevate your playing so much. It's just such a moment. You're just like, oh my god, I love this dude, man. He's just so great. Steve's just great. You know?
That's a nice story, man.
And, you know what? If you don't mind me saying,
no.
Another cat that I'm a huge, more of a present cat that I'm a real huge fan of is Jimmy Herring. Are you familiar with Jimmy Herring?
Yeah, 100%. Yes, he's a monster.
And he used to play in my town of Lexington, Kentucky, in the early '90s when Colonel Bruce Hampton and the Aquarium Rescue Unit were sort of becoming rather prominent. Hey, Devin, that's my stepson Devin. I had to say hi to him. All right. They used to play in Lexington, Kentucky all the time, man, and just this little, dive bar. But I was there early, he was there early, and we were just talking out in front of this bar before they were to perform. And somehow I'd never even had to do, but I love Aquarium Rescue Unit. And we just started talking about Steve Morse, and he turns out he's just as big, if not if it's possible, a bigger fan of Steve than I am. So that's all we talked about was Steve Morse and the Dregs. And then he invited me on their bus for a minute, and I went on the bus and hung out with Jimmy. And this is probably, gosh, I don't even know. This is probably 92 or 3, I'm guessing.
Oh, that's a way back.
That's way back. And then he invited me on the bus, and he was just, I guess, warming up before they were performing. And he handed me his guitar. And, I started playing all this Dixie Dregs stuff. And, he immediately knew that I wasn't playing around. I mean, I'm a huge Steve Morse fan, so I started playing all these tunes, and he was just like, "Oh my god, this dude is on. He's on the same page with me with this." You know, what I mean, it was just cool. It was really cool.
That's cool. You got to share a common bond there.
Oh yeah, and he turns. I think he told me he's seen the Dregs like. I want to say he said he saw him like 80 times back in the day. I was like, man, you're eat up with him more than I am. Even.
Yeah, that's like one of those, like a Grateful Dead fan. That's the only time I really hear those kinds of numbers. Although, like those kinds of bands are like Mule. I've seen them 3 or 4 times, but I know that style of jam band. Those are the guys that have all the
Oh yeah, Jimmy's he's eat up with Morse. That's his dude. You know what I mean? And he said it would be nothing to go to a gig and see Steve Morse like under the bus working on the bus. So, not only does Steve play, but apparently he's a mechanical guy too. And obviously he's got I think he's a pilot. He's an actual pilot.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So anyway, that's how I got to know Jimmy Herring, basically because of a mutuality of a Steve Morse fan. So it's cool.
Very cool, man. I've got to get both of those guys on this show, Steve and Jimmy. Yeah. I know Jimmy just came off a tour with McLaughlin, man. That's got to be like, you got to need to pause your life after that, I would imagine, for a little bit.
You better have your chops in shape. But you know what? If anyone is equipped to do that, it's definitely Jimmy Herring.
100%. Yeah. No, he's a badass, man.
And I know John Coughlin is a big fan of Jimmy. Jimmy's just money, man. He's just a bad dude. He's just a great player. And another just a great human, too, man. He's awesome.
Hey, are you working on anything now that you're excited about?
Man, I'm actually working on, I guess, in a way people know me for doing arrangements of cover tunes. But, man, I'm working on like a pretty decent batch of original stuff. So I'm like purposely not letting myself learn a cover in favor of just focusing on original stuff right now. So
good for you, man. You going to put out a record with that?
Yes, I am.
When?
Absolutely. Well, that's a good question. I've got like about 11 tunes I'm really tackling right now. And I would say about 7 or 8 are relatively complete, but there's still some others got some unfinished business on. But as soon as I can get those together, thank you. UPS dude, man, just banged on my door.
We're getting step by step live from the Lacy household here.
My wife is a fan of ordering things online, so we get random drop-offs here all day. You know what I mean?
Oh man! So you think maybe you got 6 to 8 of them you think are good that you'll keep them for the record?
Happy with 6 or 8 of them, like being relatively complete, and then there's some others that need some touching up.
That's good, man. Good for you, man.
Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm definitely enjoying it. You know what I mean?
Well, it takes discipline to get out of your sort of comfort zone of doing those, covers. So I give you credit.
Yeah, it really does. You're absolutely, and obviously these tunes are, way different than the cover tunes I might do, which they should be. You know what I mean? So
yes, yeah. Well, it's you. It's not somebody else.
yes, exactly. So I'm kind of happy about it. And if they have one common denominator, they're all grooving pretty hard. That's the one thing I notice as I'm playing them is like that's the common denominator is the depth of groove that I'm trying to convey. You know what I mean? So,
that's great, man. Well, I'll definitely be looking forward to when that comes out.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
Are you live in Lexington now still?
Yes, I do.
And you grew up there?
Yes, I did. I've lived there all my life.
What was your childhood like?
My childhood was like, well, it was great. I mean, I have a great family, great parents, and I have one sibling. I have an older brother, about a year and a half older than me. My dad was a big music fan. He's a bluegrasser, my dad is. So there was always tons of instruments laying around the house, which was kind of nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah, if you walk through our living room, you might trip over a dulcimer or a banjo or a mandolin or something. So.
Very cool. So he played on the weekends pretty much.
He did? Is that what you said?
Your dad, yeah. He was out with playing bluegrass every weekend?
He would get together with buddies, and they would just pick bluegrass tunes all night long,
Is that what... Because bluegrass is tough, man. It's not like... It's a very difficult style of music to play. Do you think that was what sort of helped you develop your thing?
The actual style of bluegrass?
Well, I mean, it's so fast, right? And then you took and added the percussive to it.
Right. Yeah. I didn't. Honestly, I listened to bluegrass, but I didn't play a lot of it. I picked around with it some, but I think I was, and I of course appreciate it, and I still do. I love bluegrass, but I don't really play a lot of it. But because at that time I was really listening to more. I was more of a rock guy, I would say.
Sure.
So I wasn't playing a lot of bluegrass, but I would definitely noodle around with it a little bit.
Is that how you got his guitar? Because the instrument's always around the house. You just picked it up?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, he was always strumming. He's kind of he's sort of a rhythm guy and would sing harmony with folks. So I'm always hearing chords being strummed around the house. And I can definitely remember him showing me several chords, and then I just kind of took it from there,
Very cool. Did your brother play?
He plays drums, actually.
That's cool. You guys ever play together?
I think we thought we were Van Lacy back in the day.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were definitely in a couple of local metal bands, and we would gig out a lot and stuff and have a lot of fun with that. So
that's really cool. Let me ask you this. You've been doing this, you've been at this a while. Have there been any, what are some of the bigger obstacles that you've sort of had to overcome throughout this musical journey, either personally, music related, business music related?
Damn, that's a really good question. I don't know about if I'd say obstacles. It's just having, God, I don't even know where to start with that. That's a really good question.
Yeah, challenges. Maybe obstacles is a bad word. Challenges.
Well, the only thing I know from daily basis is I'm going to be playing regardless of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If gig calls dry up and I don't get any offers, guess what? I'm still going to be playing. So I just enjoy it so much. I try not to really think about anything else. Because, when I play guitar, that's the first thing I do out of bed and the last thing I do before I go to sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all the time in between, I spend fighting for that, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what, though? As you're just saying that, that's what, a bigger topic or not really related, but that's what I think to some extent creates the unfairness in a sense of the music business. Because you're hiring people to, or, musicians get hired to do something that pretty much they would do for free.
Right.
And so with rare exception, people doing the hiring are leverage that, it's because I was talking to, somebody, do you happen to know Ricky Hirsch?
Ricky Hirsch. I don't believe so. Not ringing a bell.
He's in Alabama. He's older than me. So he's definitely older than you. He was the guitar player for Wet Willie.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Yeah. They're again, a little further back, but he was telling me somebody, I don't remember who came to play at his high school, someone famous. And at the time they paid him $600. I'm like, shit, Ricky, that's more money than they'd get now to play at a high school.
Yeah, probably.
And this was in the early 70s, so it's 50 years ago almost.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just weird how the whole, the music business is just bizarre like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people complain that a lot of the rates they get now are tantamount to 80s rates or 70s rates.
No, it is. And it's just, I hope that changes and comes around for all of y'all, man.
I feel fortunate to have a gig sometimes, you know what I mean? So I try not to complain too much. You know, but
no, and most people feel the same way. Most of the better quality guys are really grateful, and they can't believe that they're actually getting paid to do that.
Yeah, I take it seriously, and I'm very appreciative of it. So
cool, man. Anything? And not
ideal. Some gigs are tougher than others. And
yeah, I hear you, man. Is there any advice that you would have liked to give your younger self if you had the opportunity that would have made your life easier?
Not really, because it's just so much fun. You just, I just consider myself a perpetual student of the. You know what I mean? I just love it. You know what I mean? So I just have so much fun with it, and it's a daily improvement thing. That's really the only mission. It's just like every day. It's like, all right, well, man, I hope I can find some way to try to improve. Yeah, that's all it is, really.
Yeah.
That's it.
Let me ask this: in developing,
that never changed over the years. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. In developing your style, which again, like I said several times, is really unique and it's really nice. What were some of the musical breakthroughs that you had over the years towards getting that style? Maybe something that just sort of clicked for you and allowed you to.
I think honestly, the biggest part of that is what I'm listening to. Like I said, at some point. I'm so heavy into the rock thing. Then I find the Steve Morse thing, but I'm still kind of a metal guy too. I mean, I love, I guess I'm in the late 80s now. Metallica's obviously huge at this juncture, right?
Yeah.
Metallica blowing up. I'm a huge Metallica fan. Then Pantera comes along. And then, a little bit of the Seattle style. I was a big Alice in Chains guy too. I love
those guys, man. Love those guys.
They're awesome, but guitar-wise, after absorbing the Steve Morse thing, it's like, man, I need, now I'm ready for something else, and so I think I just started changing what I was listening to, and that just kind of changed my approach to playing. I think, you're doing kind of the shreddy guitar kind of thing, and it's like, well, man, I got to do something more than this, for me personally. I don't want that to be my whole bag, but rather just a small percentage of my toolbox, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just started listening to different stuff, and I think that just naturally just changed things and elevated things. But instead of listening to something heavy like Megadeth or whoever, Slayer or Testament, which I love all those bands too.
I had Alex on the show here, man.
And Alex is money.
He was great. Have you seen him play jazz?
Well, that's the thing I admire about him. I'm talking about shredding and having that be just a small percentage of his toolbox.
Yeah.
That like with him, I think he basically what I'm talking about. He probably experienced some of the same things. It's like, all right, well, I can shred, but what else? If I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, I need to branch out a little bit. And obviously, he did that with the jazz thing, which that's night and day different. You know what I mean? So, and that's just another level to get to. So I had a lot of admiration for him for wanting to branch out in that way. You know what I mean? I think that's super cool. You know what I mean? So,
well, he actually quit.
Dude,
what's that?
He's a great dude, Alex.
He's wonderful. And he actually quit. He moved to New York and went to get a degree in jazz.
Right.
I mean, he didn't just start playing jazz. He said, I'm going to do this the right way. And I'm going to be a student because I want to pretend I'm brand new at this. And he's kicking it up there, man. And
killed it, actually. And he would play here in town at a place that I used to play quite a bit. So when he'd come through town and play with the Alex Skolnick trio, I would open up for him.
Oh, you saw that? Okay. You've seen this trio. They're
Oh, it was wonderful. And I'd open up for him and he was cool. And then my brother lived right across the street from this venue we'd play. So we would just end up over there after the shows.
That's
and
so
we
cool.
we'd just go in a room and just, kind of shut up all the other maniacs that were partying and we would just play together.
That's nice, man. Really cool.
Yeah. And his jazz chops at that point were already, he was way more advanced than I was in that and still is in that department. So just to get to play with him was just fun, man. It was just really cool. He's a great dude too. So
yeah, really. let's talk about gear for a minute. What's your go-to guitar right now? You said you're sponsored by, sorry, I forgot the name. Is that the only guitars you play, or?
Well, I mean, I've got several. I've been playing Brian Moore for the longest amount of time.
Right, Brian Moore. I apologize.
Yeah, it's just it's a guitar. It's just a single cut. Kind of looks less polished. It just has really fat sound that I like. For me personally, it's just got a lot of bottom end and a lot of percussive sound, which I need when I play solo. Because I want it to kind of sound like a band. So this guitar definitely accommodates all my needs for the sounds. You know what I mean? So some guitars I sound really thin on, but for some reason on this guitar, it just sounds really rotund and fat, big and fat. So
how did you find them, or did they find you?
Well, I found them at a NAMM show, as a matter of fact, so I just remember playing their guitar, and I was blown away at what I was doing. Like, this guitar seemed to really be the vehicle, and they were digging what I was playing. So it was just kind of a mutual thing. And then, they invited me to come back the following year and play their guitars. And, eventually we had such a good relationship together too. I just kind of signed a little endorsement thing, and, they would send me guitars and stuff like that. And so, I still play them. I love them.
Awesome. Very cool, man. Is that's pretty much all you play is the Brian Moore guitars?
Pretty much, but I'm checking out some other stuff too. There's a great company from Sweden called Relish that's making some amazing stuff. I don't know if you've seen them.
Relish? Relish?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's a funny name, isn't it, for a guitar company?
Yeah, you should go check them out. Go look them up, man. They're great stuff.
That's funny. I might. I wouldn't do that because funny. I've interviewed some great guitar players in Sweden, man. I've interviewed many of them on the show. Really badass.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll check that out. Relish Guitar.
Yeah, Relish Guitar.
Desert Island Discs. I know. Okay, but listen, let me make it easy for you. No particular order, and just for today. Like tomorrow, you could pick 3 other ones if you want.
You just need 3?
3, yeah. Well, if you want to have 4, you can. It's a special day.
Ooh, man. Yeah, this is tough. And is it necessarily guitar-oriented or just in general?
No, just stuff that makes you feel right.
Well, if it's going to be 3, just being a guitar player, I'm going to have one of the 3 right out of the gate. It's got to be Van Halen, Fair Warning.
Somebody said.
Fair warning, Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, that album is just that's just ridiculous. That's one of my favorite. That's my favorite Van Halen record. Easily my favorite one. But that one definitely would come to mind right away. And as far as like 2 more, man, that is so freaking hard. That is, you know what? But I mean, yeah, it depends because I got to go. I don't know if I should go with my youth or more what I've been listening to recently. You know what I mean? Or in the last.
That's a tough one, man.
If it's more recent, you know what? I would probably have to
pick one of each.
I'd have to put one Frank Zappa one in there. It'd just be mandatory. I'd probably put. I'd either go with a live one, like Roxy and Elsewhere, or if I want a studio record, I'd probably go with One Size Fits All from Frank Zappa because it's just too damn. It's just so good. It's ridiculous.
Is that the one with?
That's one that has started off Inca Roads.
Yeah. Have I Arrived with a Blown Mind? That's on there, right?
I don't remember.
Wait a minute. One Size Fits All. Yeah.
It's got Inca Roads. It's got a song called Andy.
Yeah. I love. Right. That's the only. This is really funny, man. That's like the only Zappa like cover to cover record that I love it. And I was.
It's great.
They came down here. Zappa plays Zappa. Dweezil came here. I'm in Tampa, and it was at Janice Landing, and that was the album they were doing that show. I was like so lucky, and let me tell you, man, they played it lick for because I've listened to the album. I was like blown away how they recreated it lick for lick, note for note. I mean, and you got 10, 12 people on the stage. That's a tough thing to manage.
That is a task right there. That is a wow. I mean, that is an endeavor. That's a beautiful service that Dweezil is providing to planet Earth. I mean, that's just a thing of beauty.
Incredible, man. And I just
lots of work. And a funny story on that is I'm actually, kind of buddies with Dweezil too. And it's through Thomas Nordegg, Steve Vai's guitar tech. Thomas used to tech for Frank Zappa. So I've met Dweezil a couple of times and been to couple of shows, and he just really took really good care of me. Let me sit on the side of the stage at one of their shows, and
wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that was about 4 or 5 years ago, and it gave me like in-ear monitors, the same ones the bands were using. So I'm just like,
wow.
All my friends are in the crowd, and I'm sitting on the side of the stage, like 12 feet from one of the band members with their in-ear monitors, listening to everything they're doing.
That's great, man.
Get spoiled. It was and I still have DeWeasel gave me a guitar towel from that show, and that's still the towel I use at my gigs when I'm cleaning my guitar down and stuff. So
man, that's really cool. That's very nostalgic. That's a real good memory.
I mean, he's a class act too. DeWeasel's awesome, man. He's great. Matter of fact, I did a Frank Zappa arrangement of Peaches of Regalia.
Peaches in Regalia. Peaches in Regalia, yeah.
In Regalia, yes. And of course, I was going to put it on my morning living room sessions, but before I did that, I had to send it to him to get his blessing, make sure he was. And I sent it to him, and I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks. I'm like, man, I must have really butchered this song. He didn't even, he never got back to me. And then I got thinking, well, man, that dude's probably so busy.
Yeah.
And he's probably got a zillion things on his phone like all day. And then a couple weeks later, I get this text from him. It just said, "You're crazy." That's all it said.
I guess that means it's good. I guess you can release it.
And then he said something like that was just ridiculous. So I think he was digging it. And then I felt comfortable enough to post it. And then I put it on Facebook first. And as a matter of fact, I put it up on Frank's birthday a couple of years ago.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, and so that was just because that was a milestone in my arrangement, thing. I was just like, because that song is just crazy.
Do you know Jamie, who played with him? He was one of their first. He was the first other guitarist besides DeWeasel when they first set up. Jamie Kime.
I'm pretty sure he was playing at that show when they set me up nicely, and I think I met him.
He was with them from the beginning to like 2012. So like 04, 05, I think, to 2012.
Mm-hmm. And yeah. I saw him. I think it might have been 2012 when I saw him. So
yeah, I wonder if it was him because I interviewed him. His interview, funny enough, came out today, which is really odd that we're talking about him. Yeah. And he talked about how how not gut wrenching, but how this was like a whole new level of raising your game to play all this stuff, man.
The Zappa stuff is just ridiculous.
And number 3, so we got Van Halen, Frank Zappa, and
yeah, man, we got to go number 3. This is just too hard, man. I don't even know where. If it was just 3, it's like, okay, well, I got the Van Halen thing, which to me that's my guitar Bible. That's my electric guitar Bible right there. You know what I mean? Fair warning is from front to back. And then Zappa, I get the perfect combination of sarcasm and chops and musical chops, and imagination all in one thing right there. So that's covering a wide range right there that I love because I love humor too. But when you have the chops to back it up to go with that, that's just mind blowing to me. You know what I mean?
Well, let me say something about that. Your energy, man, is all like coming. It's very you could see that you are a guy that really enjoys like having fun, and I think that's just great.
I definitely try to. Yeah. I try to have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you could tell. I just like your energy is like really cool, right along that line about having fun, man. It's really nice.
Well, I appreciate the love,
man. Yeah, man, you got it.
Definitely try to have fun with it, but I don't know, man. For a third one, that'd be so hard. I'm so into like not just like when I'm listening to stuff, I'm not just into the guitar. A lot of times the guitar is like secondary to me. It's like a lot of times I draw more from like just a killing rhythm section, like with the bassist and the drummer that are just off the chain. And then like the pianist or keyboardist with the harmony that they're bringing into the deal. So that's for my third choice. That's going to be tough, but it'd have to be something ridiculous grooving. You know what I mean?
Super funky.
Because we're talking about, we were talking about things that, in my guitar timeline that changed my life, So I'm going from the metal into the Steve Morse, but then I got into like the thing that really changed me and escalated me and got me into a different area of, was focusing in on the groove. So I would say stuff like, going from listening to metal to like James Brown, all of a sudden, like I listened to I was in a heavy James Brown phase, and then like into like a Steely Dan phase,
That's some serious grooving both of those guys.
just kind of like changed my playing altogether right there. But James Brown, just the groove aspect of it, and because that's where all the attitude is, in my opinion, is the groove. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Man, those early first few Steely Dan albums, that's pretty amazing. That's like, I don't think they're given enough credit. People, you think of great albums, like of course Led Zeppelin 1 in the rock genre. Like who comes out with an album like that, right? And
sure.
But
Greta Van Fleet apparently comes out with an album like that.
I haven't listened to them. I heard a lot about them, but
yeah,
my oldest kid is 28, and I just have a hard time listening to kids that young, and that's really narrow-minded, and so be it. But if that's a flaw of mine, I own it. But I'm at the stage. I gotta just get wisdom.
Right.
I'm in search of wisdom, and I don't know. I just find it a lot easier for me to get wisdom from a little older folks.
No, I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, those Steely Dan albums, talk about killer albums coming out with, man.
It's just, God, it's so unique. I mean, who else does that? What they do, you know what I mean? And the fact that they're able to give it to you, wrap it in a way that, and you don't want to call it pop, but I mean, it could be played on the radio.
Yeah. Well, it was as difficult in a sense as what Zappa was doing.
Yes.
In a sense, because, sonically, tonally, aesthetically, technically for sure, compositionally, but it was wrapped in a totally different way, as you're saying. It was It was commercially more viable.
Yeah, it was delivered in a way that you can digest a little easier. But gosh, when you listen to those tunes, even in their most basic tunes that are on the radio, if you can call them basic, but they're still very advanced. I mean, the harmony. It's just the harmony, and not only the sheer amount of chords in one of their songs, but the types of chords and stuff. It's just, and I'm always listening to Fagan, like how he's voicing chords. So if I'm trying to do one of their tunes, I'm trying to kind of honor the way he's playing the chords. You know what I mean? It's just they're fun to arrange and extremely difficult to try to arrange. But you don't hear a lot of cats doing Steely Dan for solo guitar, so that naturally draws me. And I've got probably 6 or 7 in my rotation, Steely Dan tunes, and I get those requested a lot. And Steely Dan it's so difficult. Like if I haven't played a Steely Dan tune in a while, like I'm literally afraid to try it on the fly
because it's so complex.
There's just so many chords. Like one of my favorite songs to play by them is Babylon Sisters.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking that song's probably got 60 chords in it. It's just ridiculous. It's just, they're tough to remember on the fly if you haven't played them in a while. So you got to stay real on top of your Steely Dan game for sure.
Have you ever played with Charlie Hunter?
I have not. I've never even had the pleasure of meeting him in person, but man, he just seems like one of those cats like we're talking about where the human, is equal to the chops, and that's just intriguing to me. He just seems like a really cool dude.
He is. He's the real deal.
He's like, he gets it. Like I get him. I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. You guys would be interesting to play together, man.
I just think he's definitely on his own planet, and I really respect that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So, dude, man, you're going to hold out on the 3rd record, aren't you?
Wow, that's so brutal. I can't. I don't even know where. I mean, it could be like on that 3rd one, I could go like a James Brownie thing. I could go with maybe a Steely Dan thing. Or God, I don't even know where to. Man, that is just too tight. I've been in a heavy old school lately, in a heavy old school Jeff Beck rotation.
Oh God, yeah.
Between
Wired and Blow by Blow, yeah.
Wired and Blow by Blow, I cannot get enough of either one. And it's like I never know which one of those. Like I lean on Wired, and then I listen to Blow by Blow again, and I'm like, God, Blow by Blow, it might be better. It's just ridiculous. It's so, and the band on those records is just killing. You know what I mean?
Talk about groove and pocket.
Then that's what kills me the most about. I mean, obviously Jeff's playing is ridiculous, but the band, they're grooving so freaking. They're so funky, those records are. And I think go back and listen to some of the drag stuff and Steve Morse. I'm pretty sure Steve Morse was very inspired by those 2 records, and they were out, a little bit before, I think, the first Dregs record or around that time. So I think Steve definitely drew from those two records. So I can hear it. So
very cool. And I'm sure you're right. Who didn't at that point,
Exactly. And there's the production on those records too. It's just real. I'm pretty sure George Martin had something to do with Wired, but don't quote me on that, but I think he did.
Tell me something about yourself people would either be surprised to hear or might find a little odd.
I think, on my Facebook presence, I think I'm a huge, right after music, I'm probably like the biggest NBA fan in the world. So that's
really?
Yeah, I think that's probably, that one might throw people off just a bit. Like, if I'm not at a gig, you can definitely find me at my crib in my recliner practicing, and I'm watching NBA. So this time of year right now is very lonely for me because NBA is just finished up. So it's like the worst time of the year for sports for me personally. Now I got to wait till the end of October or early November for a fresh NBA season. And of course, LeBron's in LA now, so I'm curious how that's going to.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
That's a great question. I actually find it entertaining. So I'm kind of curious, but I don't think it's not really going to help his cause with the Warriors are still in his way, regardless of what conference he's playing.
Yeah.
But it does make things interesting to me for sure. So I can't wait to see what it's going to be like. So
yeah, it's so funny how much gossip or how much a buzz LeBron creates.
I knew he was going there. I knew he was going there.
Well, he kind of intimated that when he signed his last contract, or a year into it, he said,
Well, I knew he had a couple of. I think he's got a home or two somewhere in California. So he's got some really nice big cribs there already, and I think his family was definitely wanting to live there. So obviously, he wanted to honor that. So I couldn't see him going anywhere else. So,
well, I'm a Knicks fan, so I hope I have some empathy out of you.
Wow, that would have been that would have been interesting if he went.
Oh, if he went to New York, that would have been crazy, man.
Try to revive that thing because that's just amazing how such a prominent market that it just cannot seem to get like a
sucks.
It's just I don't really understand, and the league desperately needs the Knicks to be relevant. You know what I mean?
So, well, I think the problem is Dolan. To be honest with you, I actually
I'm gonna say it. You said it.
Well, I mean, I actually interviewed somebody, and I can't think of who it was recently that played with him, and they quit.
You mean they played music or they played?
Yeah, they played music with him because he's does band stuff, and they quit because they said the guy was like, micromanaging every note I played.
And that's why I keep bringing up the human goes with the human.
Yeah, man.
So there you go.
And I'm like, hey, does that to every coach that he has and every,
and possibly that. Yeah, it just seems like the absolute worst ownership of something. So, I just can't. And that's got to be the impetus why perhaps they're not able to attract great players there. I'm not really sure. But
I don't know, but you'd think it'd be.
But LeBron would have those cats in the playoffs really quick. And LeBron went there. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. It's interesting. We'll see what happens. Hey, happiest moment or happiest time in your life?
Ooh. Wow. Well, one could argue, the first time you hold a guitar, I guess, right? But then there's also, meeting my wife. That was pretty incredible too.
You haven't been married long, have you?
This October will be my 6th wedding anniversary.
Oh, cool, man! Happy anniversary. That's good.
Good for you. That was, pretty special.
Yeah, the first time I spoke to you, you spoke real favorably about your wife, which I thought was cool.
She's amazing. So and she loves music and stuff, and just very supportive of it. So that's always good to have.
That's real good to have. Yeah, man.
And I had the best parents for it. So moments in my life, I think about just the support my parents. They just basically got me a guitar and just sort of got out of my way. You know what I mean? Just kind of let me
really
do.
Cool.
Very appreciative of. So
very cool, man.
Yeah.
3 more questions.
Go.
And then any bad.
Me on this, by the way. This is a very fun interview, man. I'm digging it.
Good, man. Likewise, I appreciate you coming on.
And shout out to Charlie Hunter. Didn't Charlie Hunter?
Was it Charlie? I thought it was it Charlie or JT Thomas? I thought it was Charlie. I think it had to be Charlie, right?
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. He I'll send you the link for his interview. It was pretty intense. He's the real deal, man. He's very much what you talked about, the human.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's very, very, very much like
you can tell that stuff right away too, real fast. You know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, man.
No, it's all good, man. Any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Well, like I say, NBA. Obviously. I love watching the World Series of Poker too. You're gonna think I'm crazy.
No. I don't think anything's crazy, man. I'm 54 years old. Are you kidding me?
I got the app for my phone, and I play that every now and then on my phone. So I would say definitely NBA is probably my second thing after music. But I love watching like poker and stuff. But I don't know why. No,
it's interesting. You know what I like? I don't watch it a lot, but once in a while I get caught on it. I like watching the people. I like watching the players. Them watching the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dynamic to that. It's not, there's a lot of strategy, and I just find it, I love the competitiveness, and I love watching people tilt when they lose. I just love it.
I like watching people tilt when they lose.
I think you got to be like a maniac.
That's classy.
You got to be a maniac to like play music for a living. But God, could you imagine being a poker? Like the two that really blow my mind to be a maniac to want to do for a living would be a poker player or like a comedian. Like that is just, to me, that is just crazy. Like being a comedian, that's got to be just nuts. A nuts gig. You know what I mean?
I think you got to be a serious adrenaline junkie.
You do
to play poker, man.
It's like, I know what it is with those guys. It's like never enough. You just can't you can't win enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I couldn't do that's not. I
watched the thing the other night. These cats like winning their first big tournaments, and then as soon as they get that dough, they're just like into the biggest casinos in the world, just pissing it away. You know what I mean?
I couldn't do. I win like $100. I'm like, later.
Yeah, I'm good for the $100. I'm good for the night.
Yeah, hey, hon, we got freaking whole night paid for.
No, man, those guys are out of their freaking minds.
Anything that you're currently trying to improve on? Could be musically, personally, business, anything.
I'm always tweaking the groove. I'm trying to find some way to get more profound with the groove, just get deeper into the groove. And then, like I say, making that kind of, conscious effort to kind of transition from doing lots of covers to really, really focusing on original music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, I give you credit for that because there's a lot of ways you could easily figure out and rationalize, no, I'm not going to do that.
Absolutely. And from a lot of that is real, honestly, and honestly, it's kind of a trap. It's like there's sort of a comfort zone with doing cover tunes. And it's
of course.
And it's never ending because there's there's just an endless supply of things to dig into, which is great because that keeps you busy. But like, at some point it's like, okay, well, I should have my own thing here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, and I think, again, I really give you credit for that because that's
and it's something you're getting paid to do. And so it's like, it's almost like in the back of your mind, you don't really want to disrupt that. But at the same time, it's sort of a trap and you need to disrupt that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, totally. It's going to change your life. And talk about from a growth standpoint as a musician, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Dude, last question. Biggest change in your personality over the last 7 to 10 years, and how much of this change has been deliberate and how much is just a part of aging?
Wow, man, that's a heavy question.
It's a heavy question.
You paying me on that?
Am I doing you wrong, man?
Let's go get a beer and some weed.
Then it'll take you another hour to answer the question.
Yes, it would, and I'd probably give you a really lame answer, which I'm probably about to do anyway.
No, man, it's all good.
Personality over the last
7 to 10 years, and
I don't. Damn, that's I don't even know how to answer that. I really don't. You got me good on that one, man. I thought that third Desert Island CD was tough, but this is brutal. Right?
All right, I got another one for you.
Let me ask, what about you in the last 7 to 10 years? What would you say?
For me?
Yeah.
Man, I've had a lot of changes. I think one of them is I've become much nicer.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that I was like mean, but I think I really have learned to appreciate the difference between kindness and weakness.
Right.
And I've been willing to be what's that?
I'm struggling with that one a little bit too.
Yeah, well, and I've been willing to be a lot more vulnerable and open up. And that's all part of the same thing, you know, and like, just, you know, more okay with like me, I guess, in a nutshell is probably what's driving all that. Like, you know, I'm willing to open up more because I don't really give a shit if you know, someone doesn't like it or approve. Not that I'm looking for confrontation. And when I say open up, I don't mean open up like I'm on Facebook talking fucking politics. I just mean like, you know, letting people in more.
You know, I get that.
Yeah. So,
and I think I'm similar in ways too. You know, I consider myself a nice person. I don't, you know, I treat everyone the same. I don't see colors. I don't see any colors. I don't see, you know, all I see is what's beating in your chest. You know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
That's it. I mean, that's pretty much it.
So now you have to answer.
I know that. I refuse to carry any hate for anything. And you know what I mean? I just, you know, I'm not going to let that negative energy enter me and live that way because I see too many people living that way. You know what I mean? I
do know. That's another thing I've done. I've totally dropped like I let anything that was negative inside of me. I just decided one day, you know what? I'm responsible for the amount, to a great degree. For me, I felt like I realized that I'm responsible for a lot of the stress in my life.
Absolutely.
And it was almost like a switch, man. When I guess I was ready to realize that. And when I realized it, I'm like, you know what? I'm done. And anything that was causing me stress, I just dropped it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, you go through phases at gigs sometimes, so it can be a little tough. Like perhaps some people aren't having as much fun as you are, depending on where you're playing. So, and not letting that get to you and just having fun regardless and things like that, you know. But I do know that one thing that I know for sure is that, you know, a lot life is to a huge degree is based on effort, right? Wouldn't you say?
100%. Yeah, so, man.
Putting in that effort, you're naturally going to be mad at yourself. And when you're mad at yourself, like that, you tend to put that on others all of a sudden, and you start disliking others as a way of deflecting that. And that's what I don't like what people do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have this saying.
There's a lot of cats that I just like, man, if you would just put in some effort, you wouldn't hate so many people and you'd be more pleasant to be around instead of being a quick answer to everybody. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I have this thing. I always say, don't make your problems someone else's problems. And I've always really been like myself my whole life. I've always been good at taking accountability for myself and not like if something shit's going on with me, I've never like blamed it on anybody or.
Yeah. But you want to be an encourager. I want to be an encourager.
Yeah. It's so much nicer, man. You get so much more out of life.
You know what success feels like, you know, it's to fucking give someone a damn compliment, encourage somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, man. Well, dude, let me tell people where to find you, and thank you so much for everything, man. You're awesome. I'm really glad we got to connect.
It's a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it, Craig. And it's just been a real easy interview and you know what? I'm inspired. So as soon as I get off here, I'm going to go back to my batch of original tunes and really kill it. So hopefully. Yeah, man.
You can name one after me.
I will. The Craig Groove.
The Blabbermouth.
It's coming.
Hey, everybody. It's Ben Lacy, BenLacy. And talk about, first of all, he's got a great YouTube channel and he's on social media. He does really cool stuff. Check out his playing. He's really a monster. And talk about your instructional video because I think that is a really good value for anybody who'd be interested in learning how to play like you. That's kind of like, you know, it makes it sound like it's like learning how to scale Mount Everest, you know. You know, it's like baby steps. But talk about your instructional video with True Fire.
Well, I just, I wanted to focus on, instead of having a course full of guitar licks, I wanted to focus on something a little more, you know, that not really people focus on, that I wish more would when it comes to playing, particularly solo guitar. And that's just the aspects of the groove and making sure everything's grooving. You know, it's not about the licks. You know, to me, it's more about the groove and what you can tap your foot to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When your groove's on point, it almost doesn't even matter what you're playing. As long, that's how I want to lure someone in is with the groove and have them tapping their foot and really, you know what I mean?
I do, and brother, you do a hell of a good job at that.
I appreciate that, and that's what the True Fire course, and that's a hard subject to tackle. It's like, how do you even how do you teach groove? I don't even know. And I still don't even know how to do that, really. It's just one of those things, I don't even know how to do it necessarily. But in the video, in the instructional course, I certainly am trying to do that. You know what I mean?
And people can get that on your website?
Get that through my website, or they can get it through the TrueFire website. And it's called Two Hand Groove Guitar, which TrueFire coined that title. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I hope we get something out of it. I mean, there's a lot of James Brown influence and a lot of the excerpts, in it that you can learn from. And because to me, if you're going to be grooving, that's like the real prominent source that you should go to me, is the James Brown stuff.
Groove 101. Yeah, man.
Absolutely. All day long, baby. All day long.
And your website is just benlacy.com?
Yes, sir.
All right. Again, it's Ben Lacy, Lacy. Man, thank you again for everything, man. I really appreciate it. And when you come out with your record, if you feel it'll help you, come back on the show. We'll do a half hour or 45-minute special just on the record. We'll release that as a special bonus afternoon show or something.
Brother, absolutely. And this has been a really, really fun interview, man.
Awesome. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Thanks again to Ben Lacy for spending time with us. Please check him out online and support him. He's an amazing player, and as you could hear, a hell of a nice cat and a soulful dude. And make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to our newsletter list right now. And remember, most important, happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.